We focused first on foreign policy. Mr. President, some are saying, many are thinking, that this is a crisis in relations between the U.S. and Israel. Is it?
No. Look, Israel is one of our closest allies, and we and the Israeli people have a special bond that's not going to go away. But friends are going to disagree sometimes. And I specifically sent Vice President Biden to Israel to send a message of support and reassurance about my belief that Israel's security is sacrosanct and that we have a host of shared interests. There is a disagreement in terms of how we can move this peace process forward. And obviously, when I sent Vice President Biden there, it was at a moment where we were trying to restart talks between the Palestinians and the Israelis. The actions that were taken by the Interior Minister in Israel weren't helpful to that process. Prime Minister Netanyahu acknowledged as much and apologized for it. And what we've said is we need both sides to take steps to make sure that we can rebuild trust. And yesterday, when there were riots by the Palestinians against a synagogue that had reopened, we condemned them in the same way, because what we need right now is both sides to recognize that it is in their interests to move this peace process forward.
If Iran gets a nuclear weapon before the end of your term, will your foreign policy be a failure?
It is one of our highest priorities to make sure that Iran doesn't possess a nuclear weapon. And that is why I have worked so hard to mobilize the international community successfully to isolate Iran. But as we've seen, the Iranian government has been more concerned about preventing their people from exercising their democratic and human rights than trying to solve this problem diplomatically. That's why we're going to go after aggressive sanctions. We haven't taken any options off the table. We are going to keep on pushing. It is a hard problem, but it is a problem that we need to solve, because if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, then you could potentially see a nuclear arms race throughout the Middle East, and that would be tremendously damaging to our national security interests.
Thank you very much for your
time. Appreciate you.
One of the emailers asked to ask you, what do you think about Tiger returning to the Masters?
I think that Tiger has acknowledged that he betrayed his family, and that's a personal issue that he's got to work out. I hope they've worked it out. I'm sure he's going to still be a terrific golfer.
Thanks for the time.
Appreciate you.
Well, we have an expanded panel tonight. Syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer, Juan Williams, news analyst for National Public Radio, A.B. Stoddard, associate editor of The Hill, and Steve Hayes, senior writer for The Weekly Standard. Well, let's go around the horn here. Thoughts on the interview? Charles.
Well, I thought he did a very clever rope-a-dope, the president. For him, this was his last campaign speech on health care, and he's reaching an audience he doesn't ordinarily reach. You asked me yesterday, why is he doing this? Well, he's trying to reach all the huge number of Democrats and independents who watch Fox, and that he wouldn't ordinarily reach, and he stuck to his message. Now, he tried not to discuss process because it obviously isn't going to help him. It's a messy and, from his perspective, a destructive one. And he tried to stay on message, but he did not have a lot of answers on all of those process issues, and I think that's going to hurt them in the long run. I think he might have helped himself marginally by repeating all the talking points about how it's going to help these groups of people, but overall, marginal at best.
I should point out that Charles is, like we all are, going to the radio TV dinner. That's why he's so dressed up tonight.
Yeah, but I'm going as a waiter.
Oh, okay. Didn't get that word. A.V., your thoughts on the interview?
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with Britt Hume. I actually found I've never seen Barack Obama on the defensive for such a sustained period at all. John McCain never managed to do this in their presidential debates. I really thought that you had him on the defensive on process, Brett, on the process of voting, but also on cuts to Medicare, on the doctor fix, on several accounts, on the special deals included in the legislation, previous or current. And I thought that he really had a rough time. He did stick to his talking points. He reverted to them automatically when on the defensive. I thought that he did well, to be fair, at the end when he just said, you know, come what may, I make the best decisions I can, and I believe in them on principle, and they might not be popular. But I thought for the majority of the interview, I don't think I've ever seen him so uncomfortable. And I think he was having a tough time talking about a bill that doesn't yet exist. It's not yet online. We don't know what the final numbers are or the details. And I think he was on the defensive, certainly over what he called Washington process.
Steve Hayes.
Yeah, I thought actually this was President Obama at his worst. I mean, he mischaracterized his opponent's arguments, saying that they were in favor of the status quo if they voted against the bill. At the same time, he mentioned in his discussion with you that he spent 7 hours with Republicans talking about ideas, and at the time he praised those Republican ideas. Why is he now claiming that people who oppose the bill on its merits have no ideas in favor of the status quo? It's simply dishonest. I also thought he ran into trouble several times when you tried to get him to answer questions about what exactly is in the bill. It's astonishing to me that the President of the United States here 3 days before this bill could potentially become law couldn't tell you directly what was in it and what was not in it. I thought that was rather striking.
Juan Williams joining us from Fresno, California. Juan, it is tough. Listen, we're given limited time frame here to try to pin the president down. And as you heard me talk with Britt, you know, I didn't want to interrupt him as much as I did, but I tried to get as many answers as I could.
No, I think that's exactly what I would have done. I think that's what you're supposed to do as a professional journalist. I don't care if you're working for Fox or anybody else. You're there to get answers from the man in charge, the president. Now, I did think that, as AB said, he was on the defensive. I thought he was stammering at points. But you know what was interesting to me in watching this as an exercise was it almost was like, you know, two trains crossing, you know, two planets in different orbits. It was clear to me that you were focused heavily on the process. And I think from President Obama's eyes, what I saw was he viewed this as minutia. And from his perspective, he said what Teddy Roosevelt hadn't been able to do, make history by accomplishing something large, something that was transformative. Later you came back to that question, can he be a transformative president if he fails here? And I think that this is for him so critical. If he fails on this, I don't think there's anything else to come. He talked about, oh, he's making progress on education, on energy. If he fails here, I think that his ability to get things through the Congress, to seem as if he's in charge and he's someone that other politicians have to follow, will be mortally damaged, Brett. So I think that's the key here, is that you're talking about, Mr. President, do you believe that, you know, the Louisiana purchase is a good deal? Do you believe that is Connecticut in? He doesn't want to talk about details. He's flying at a higher level, and he's saying what's important here is that we simply have a vote, that the Democrats, whoever votes for this or for it or against it, will not be able to hide behind a veil and say, oh, it was because of the Deem or the slaughter rule that I voted for, but I didn't really vote for it. Everybody will know you voted for it if you vote for that rule. And I think that's the level he's at. Let's just have a vote. You're at a level of saying, where's the news, Mr. President? You know, where's the beef in this sandwich? And he's just not playing. He's not taking a bite out of the sandwich.
Well, Juan, Charles, hold that thought if you would. More with the panel on the specifics of health care reform and where we are after we take a time out. Stay with us.
By the time the vote has taken place, not only I will know what's in it, you'll know what's in it because it's going to be posted. And everybody's going to be able to evaluate it on the merits. But here's the thing, Brett. I mean, the reason that I think this conversation ends up being a little frustrating is because the focus entirely is on Washington process. And yes, I have said it. That is an ugly process. It was ugly when Republicans were in charge. It was ugly when Democrats were in charge.
We're back here at the White House after this interview with President Obama. He talked about what's in the bill, what's not in the bill, but trying to nail him down on a number of specifics was tough today. We're back with our panel. Charles, one of the things I tried to talk about was the difference between $500 billion in savings in Medicare being spent on other things and $500 billion in savings on Medicare being spent on Medicare.
Well, exactly. It wasn't all about process. It was about substance. And I do believe that's the first time the president has been challenged on the claim he's made over and over again that this will, the $500 billion he's taking out of Medicare, will both be used to reduce the cost of the health care entitlement and extend the life of Medicare. He said it over and over again. It was raised once by Ryan Paul.